Hi there, accountants. I hope all is well, and I pray that as you're viewing this video, that you're in the best of health and spirit. This video will essentially walk you through the registration process. Here, as we see in the preface, there are some step-by-step instructions, and this video is essentially to provide you with a visualization of what this process will be like. So, first things first, you'll receive an email as we see here. It says students can no longer register themselves. They must receive an invitation from their instructor. If you've received an invitation from your instructor, read the following to get access to QBO. And just keep in mind that once you register, you are eligible for 1 year to utilize this program. So just keep that in mind. So this is an example of the email that you should see. It will state your instructor has invited you to create your own QuickBooks company. So this, ties into what we see here in figure preface 11. So we select accept invitation, and from there, it will take us to QuickBooks. So step 2, it says, if you have already registered and been validated, click sign in and provide Intuit with your username and password as shown in preface 12. And if we've not registered, then provide information to create a new account. So for those of you might have never used this before, so we'll just create a brand new account. So create an account. If you already have an account, then you would select this hyperlink to sign in. But in this case, we're going to, create one from scratch. All right, so you basically just input your information. First name optional, last name optional. Obviously, you need to create a password. And then your phone number. And it just basically says to protect your account, we'll send a code to verify that it's you. This checkbox is optional. So, just like about every company, they do marketing. So if you select this box, then you agree to receive automated marketing text messages from or on behalf of QuickBooks. If you're like me and you don't really like, your inbox and your, text messages being flooded with marketing, I would leave this unchecked. But if you do want to, receive marketing from QuickBooks or Intuit overall, then you would select this. So again, we're creating our account. We select one more step. Now, the next part of the process is that it is going to send a text message. And then once you get the text message, obviously you input the code. And then from there, you'll be able to set up, depending on, which computer you're using, you can decide to save it, depending again on the web browser as well. You select not now. So we simply wait for the code. And then once you get the code, you input it, and then you'll be able to continue. And then from there. So it might take a few minutes for the code to be sent. So just keep that in mind. Because obviously if you say you didn't get a text message and then you send it again, once you get the first code, it's going to be inactive. So you just want to extend a bit of patience. As my mother would always say, patience is a virtue. And if we're being honest, many of us don't have a lot of patience, myself included, but it is a daily practice. All right. So again, still just waiting for this text message to come in. Again, once we input it, then we'll basically be able to move on and then follow through with the steps. All right, but we'll move on while I wait for the code. One thing to keep in mind, it's going to ask you to type your email address twice, first name, last name, phone. Again, so as of right now, I'm just providing you with a visualization of what you should expect to see. So now the code came through. So 766802, we select continue. All right, so now we're on this onboarding process. And as we see here in figure preface 13, let's get QuickBooks working for you. All right, and now it's asking you, not to do this, but again, you want to be able to, kind of get a better understanding of, what it's asking you to do. So let's just scroll down and see what else. All right, so now we essentially, have signed in. So now we go to chapter 2. So in chapter 2, we essentially get an overview of what exactly we need to do. All right, so we're just going to get this set up. And again, in the instructions, it just wants you to get set up. And in chapter two is where we now have the opportunity to identify the basic features of QuickBooks Online, explain how QuickBooks Online is similar to and differs from the desktop version of QuickBooks, open the QuickBooks Online company that we created in a preface, which is what we just did, provide information to QuickBooks Online about your company, successfully navigate the QuickBooks Online dashboard, assign the instructor as an accountant, and use QuickBooks Online help features. So the focus of this chapter is to introduce you to QuickBooks Online, which is often abbreviated, and anytime you see QBO, that's what it stands for. And the goal is to get the account and company established. A description of QBO will be provided along with a brief comparison of how QBO differs from its desktop version. The text includes instructions provided by Intuit to create your own personal account and create up to 4 companies. All right, so what is QuickBooks Online? So as an accountant, we know that, we need to account for transactions that take place on a day-to-day basis. And from these transactions, we use them to prepare financial statements, the balance sheet, the income statement, the statement of cash flows, etc. But bookkeeping, accounting, which is what QuickBooks essentially handles, that is the foundation of what takes place. Let's say on Monday, $500 came into the business because we provided a service. QuickBooks is a tool that is more streamlined versus, manual accounting, because let's say at the end of the month, you need to quickly get an income statement to see what the bottom line is, if there's a net income or net loss. If you are manually handling accounting, you have to go through all of the transactions, you have to tally up things, etc. But with a program like QuickBooks Online, it streamlines it because everything essentially is connected to the bank account. You get to reconcile, etc. And at the click of a few buttons, you can generate financial statements. So with the video link, this is another great thing about this text. You can utilize the video tutorials that are provided by Intuit as supplemental information. So QuickBooks Online is an online version of the popular QuickBooks accounting software developed by Intuit. The software is designed to capture common business events like purchases from and payments to vendors, sales to and collections from customers, payments and receipts to and from other operating, investing, and financing activities, period end accrual adjustments and reports. Reports include the standard financial statements, as we mentioned, the income statement, statement of stockholders' equity, balance sheet, statement of cash flows, and other useful reports. So that's the great thing about QuickBooks Online. It's not just about getting the financial statements. You can also receive or prepare rather reports like accounts receivable, aging. Let's say there's a company, they extend credit to their customers, but again, you extend credit, it doesn't guarantee that all customers are going to pay. So the company wants to be able to know, all right, is there any portion of this accounts receivable that we're going to need to recognize as bad debt, because the likelihood of us receiving payment is unlikely. All right. So one key thing to keep in mind is that all interaction with QuickBooks Online is done via an internet connection. So in other words, if you are not connected to the internet, you have no Wi-Fi, you will not be able to access QuickBooks Online. It does not work offline. So please keep that in mind. As it states here, all interaction with QBO is done online. There are no files to maintain on a computer. Everything is saved online. So unlike the desktop version, there's no need to, save any backup files. The great thing about this is that if you are anywhere in the world, doesn't matter, different continent, different state, so long as you have internet connection, you have access to QuickBooks Online. So you just want to keep that in mind. Now here it just goes over some similarities and differences from the QuickBooks Online version to the desktop version. So even though the two products share the same QuickBooks name, they are unrelated. QBO isn't a copy of QuickBooks that has been web enabled. They are different products with different database structures and approaches to solving problems, even though both were developed in-house by Intuit. So not all features that are available in QuickBooks Online are available in the desktop version and vice versa. Not all features available in QuickBooks Desktop is available in QuickBooks Online. All right, so here just goes over some of the key differences and things you just keep in mind if you decide that you want to gain a better understanding of how to utilize QuickBooks Desktop. There are some courses that can be taken online to get a better understanding of how to navigate QuickBooks Desktop. But we're living in this day and age where a lot of things are being technologically streamlined, and again, this obviously provides greater flexibility, but the key thing is it depends on the type of client and their needs, because in certain situations desktop might be a better fit versus QuickBooks Online. So ultimately depends on the client. So now it asks, or now we get rather to the section where we're opening the QuickBooks Online company that we created in the preface. So we created or completed our QuickBooks Online registration. We're presented with a QBO company shell. What this basically means is a QBO company without any details. Then we were instructed to sign out. And in this section, we're going to return to that company. So let's sign out. I might take us back to the same screen. All right. So we'll sign out. Pull up a new screen. All right, so I'm going to get this quickly pulled up. All right, and what I'll do is log out of this one. All right, so I'll use the one that I created. All right, perfect. So we made it to that first step. We signed out, and then now we, or type in, or in this case, we click on the hyperlink, enter the user ID as I just did. If you have more than one account as I do, that's the issue. So I basically logged into this new account that was created, click sign in, and now click skip for now. If it asks you to verify a number, it didn't ask that. So, here it says, let's get QuickBooks working for you. So we select get started. And then, welcome, we're glad you're here. So now it's asking us, what's your business called? So Wildwater Sports, and then you would input your name. In this case, I'm just going to abbreviate EMP. And then again, the great thing about, using this step-by-step guide is you can select the details, and it gives you a greater understanding of, what's happening in the specific screen. So input the name Wildwater Sports, EMP, select next. Then it asks, how have you been managing your finances? Select nothing. I'm just getting started. So, just like nothing. I'm new to this. And here it asks, what's your industry? We basically just leave it blank. It says it's optional. For the business type, we'll select C, corporation. Select next. And then here it asks to answer the question about how your business makes money. Click provides services and sells products. And then we see that some of the steps are skipped. So just keep in mind, we might have to revert back and forth. So now it's asking us, what's your role? So your main role would be bookkeeper or accountant. All right, and then it essentially asks how many employees. So I think we just put 2 to 5, that should be fine. See what it's asking. All right, so we can keep that, select next. All right, then we just have these, options to nail the basics, keeps going, but then we can, choose whether or not you want to go through this. So personalize your invoices, make them payable, learn how to start paying yourself and your team. Well, let's just see if we choose this and figure out how to streamline this. All right, so we'll just put the owners. So we click do this first, and then the next step is skip for now. And then this is basically just showing us some features, snap and save receipts. We select next, and then we select skip for now. And then it gets us to the screen, like, is there anything else that we want to essentially set up? So we want to, invoice customers. So we send and track invoices. We want to manage and pay bills. We want to be able to track time, manage inventory. We want to track sales, manage sales tax. All right, so we select next. And then if we need to, do anything else, then we would essentially have that option to do so. So, all right, everything's set up. We'll select let's go. And now we are officially led to our client, Wild Water Sports. So let's go. We finished it. At this point, you can decide that you want to, take a quick tour, or you can basically just close the welcome. Again, each video has details, or each preface, essentially, as you see here, or figure has the details. So again, that'll give you a greater understanding of what's going on. So now we're going to skip to step 16, and it says click the gear icon. The gear is top, right? So we click the gear icon, and it wants us to click account and settings. So it wants us to click the company tag. That's the first tab, and that's automatically selected. And then we click the pencil icon in the company name. So if we scroll over, we see the pencil icon, and we type Wild Water Sports, EMP, and it's asking you to replace your student name with your name and the ID number in the company. So here we have an example. Wild Water Sports, essentially. All right, so you basically want it to match what is in figure 211, and then you would have this checkbox clicked, same as company name. Select save. And then in the company type section, it wants you to click the pencil icon, and then you want to confirm that the corporation is selected. So we see here, corporation, one or more shareholders. So this is correct. We click save. We click the pencil icon in the address section. And it is asking us to type the address shown in figure 213. So we start to type in the address, 5500 East Colonial Drive. And then with these, great advancements with technology, we can essentially just click it. We just want to make sure everything is correct. So 5500 East Colonial Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32807. So we click on it, and it appears the same as it does in figure 213. So we select save. And then next it asks us to click the sales tab. So we click the sales tab, and it says to make sure that the preferred invoice terms are set to net 30 in the sales form content section. So we see here preferred invoice items. It is net 30. So we're good to go. And then now it's asking us to close the settings window. So we select done. And it's asking us to go to Appendix 1. So in the Appendix 1 is asking us, or, to review sales tax. So some companies, depending on, what products they sell, they might or might not be subjected to sales tax. So some companies are required to collect sales tax from customers depending on the states in which they do business. Collecting sales tax in QBO has gotten easier. There's a new automated sales tax experience, and you just have to answer a few questions. And then QuickBooks will know what taxes to apply to the business, set it up, and it automatically tracks sales tax. So this basically means that you no longer need to select the tax rate when an invoice is created or if there's another transaction. So as long as the sales tax center and all the applicable tax agencies are set up, the system automatically does it for you. So here it says that, at the end of cases 1 and 2 and a few of the chapters, where they require a collection of sales tax, they'll utilize this automatic sales tax system pretty much. So if you ever want to set up a company's sales tax, you click taxes from the navigation bar, and just as a reminder, the navigation bar is on the left. So you go to taxes, and then from there you click sales tax. All right, and then here you have this option to set up the automated sales tax. So if you select use automated sales tax, all right, perfect. Then it's going to ask you, about the address. Select next. And then again, the key thing is that it just wants to, make sure that this is set up from the onset in the event you actually, need to use it. All right. So we select next. All right, select the frequency. And then generally it can be done monthly, quarterly, semi-annually. So if we go back to the text, it says, click on taxes, then sales tax from the navigation bar. All right, so we'll go back to see what they have set up. All right, and let's just choose quarterly. Have you registered for sales tax in any other state? We'll select no. All right, we select finish. All right, and then we select take a look. All right, so again, just choose quarterly. Next step, we select sales tax settings. We select edit from the agency option. And then we will type in 01/01/2027 as our start date. So you need to put the dashes. All right, so January 2021. We'll leave it as accrual. Then we select save. All right, and now from there, it's asking us to sign out of our QuickBooks Online file by clicking on the account. So at the top, depending on what your name starts with, my name starts with an E, so that's why you'll see an E. If your name starts with an S, you'll see S. Starts with a P, you'll see P, etc. So we went through all of this. Now it asks you to sign out, right? So now we go on to the next step, and it's asking you to navigate QBO. So navigate your web browser. Again, the video tutorials are provided. So the dashboard provides links to various tasks and resources. So now it's asking us to log in to the case we modified earlier in this chapter. So I select it, I input my password, and we sign back in. All right, so as you're working on it, I don't think you really need to sign out, but because you're going right back into the program. But again, if you want to just follow it step by step, you can. But the key thing is it's just giving you a better understanding of how to navigate it. So here we see, we just logged back in. It doesn't ask us for the number, so we don't need to verify it. So the windows should show QuickBooks dashboard. So here we see the dashboard, right? And with the dashboard, or well, here it's showing bookmarks, but it's essentially the same thing. Or we can do switch to accountant view. Let's see if it shows the same. All right, so here we see with the dashboards, and then we see that there are a bit of differences. There's dashboards, there's transactions, sales, etc. But for the most part, still does the same thing. They're just a few updates. So just keep that in mind. So details again are always provided. So now that we're back into QuickBooks Online, it's time to explore the help features. So anytime you need assistance, there's a help button located in the upper right portion. So where we see this question mark with a circle, if you click on that, anytime we need assistance, we can type in the search box. And there's asking us to add an account. Press enter. And then QuickBooks Assistance response. And then it's asking us to click on add to my chart of accounts. And then we see what the QuickBooks response would be. And then it says QuickBooks automatically sets up your chart of accounts for you. If you need to add more accounts, go to your chart of accounts, then select new. So that's something key to keep in mind, because whenever you are, working in QuickBooks, there might be some questions that arise. So next it's asking us to type sales tax in the ask something box. So sales tax, we select enter. So then it's asking if we want to, set it up. Here we see sales tax online. So setting up your sales tax is basically learning how to set up, edit, deactivate, etc. So as we see, there are some differences, and the reason being is because this is, updated. But for the most part, the information is generally the same. So QuickBooks Help, to be frank, is not very helpful. Most of what you need to be effective using QBO is outlined in the text. And now it's going to, show us how to navigate QuickBooks Online. So we close the help window. Then we click the plus new button at the top of the dashboard. And then we see this information here. We see customers, we see vendors, we see team, which used to be employees, and then we see other. And again, details are provided. So now we click outside of the plus new menu to close it. And then we click sales from the navigation bar. And then we click customers. And the next step is asking us to add a customer manually. So we select add customer. So since we haven't entered any customers as yet, QuickBooks Online is going to ask us to add our first customer. And here it states that we're going to do this later in chapter 3, but it's essentially showing you what the steps would be to do such. So we select X from the customer information window to close it. Then we click expenses from the navigation bar. We click vendors. And then from there, we add a vendor manually. And again, it's similar to the customers. There's no customers as yet. So we select X. We go back to the navigation bar. We select payroll. And we go to employees. All right, and this is essentially asking us if we need to set up. We don't need to set up any employees at this moment. But when it's time, we select add employee, first name, middle initial, last name, email, and the hire date. So once we finish with this, the next step is to click the gear icon located at the upper right. And this menu gives us access to details about the company, lists, tools, and the profile. So this is basically letting us know if we created more than one company, we can click switch on the company profile. So under here, where it says Wild Water Sports, you would be able to click it and then you can toggle between different companies. But obviously, there's only one company. So therefore the switch text will not appear. So just keep that in mind. All right, now the next part of the process is assigning an instructor as the company's accountant. So you'll essentially, assign the instructor so that way they can be able to see, everything that's happening in the QuickBooks. So that way, if you have any questions, they'll be able to assist. You can read through the verbiage up above. I'll walk through the steps to do such. So we go to the navigation bar. We select My Accountant. And then the next step would be to type the instructor's email address in the space provided as shown in the figure. All right, so I'll wait for this to load. All right, so with the My Accountant, again, the key thing is that the accountant or the instructor will be able to essentially see what is happening on your end. So that way, if there's any questions, you'll essentially be able to address it. So one of the key things is that, we already have access to see it, hence it's not loading. But in the event that you're not able to see it, then you can reach out to the instructor and ask them if they can see it on their end, because the instructor should automatically get access. All right, so let's skip this for now since it's not loading. I would already have access to see it. And then again, as you're going through the step, if you don't see the Add Accountant, then you basically reach out to the instructor to make sure that they can see it on their end. So as it relates to video tutorials for QuickBooks Online, these are developed and maintained by Intuit. So Intuit, which we know is the developer of QuickBooks Online, has made several video tutorials, and the tutorials are step-by-step videos to learn your way around QuickBooks. So throughout this text, the author references videos in the appropriate chapters, and to view all tutorials, they'll navigate the browser. So if you select this, then it takes you to the tutorials. All right, so this is a great tool. So I would select going through it, and then you can essentially bookmark it. So that way going forward, if you need it again, I would strongly suggest using it. So I would suggest rather selecting this and then bookmarking it so you can always see. And there's a plethora of video tutorials that you can review. So in addition to the details, there's also those video tutorials, because some people, they are, they don't learn through reading. Some people, they need to see visualization. Some people are visual learners. So just keep that in mind. And here it's asking you to go to click Introduction to QuickBooks Online in the video tutorial. So if you scroll down, Introduction to QuickBooks Online, then there's a video here, 3 minutes and 25 seconds, that gives you an introduction to QuickBooks Online. Select play. And then when you're done, viewing the video, you can select end. So this brings us to the end of chapter 2. So it says you have now been introduced to QuickBooks Online, its basic features, and how it is similar to, but not the same as QuickBooks Desktop. Logged into your Intuit account and provided basic information about your company, learn how to navigate around the QBO application. After assigning your instructor as your accountant, you learn more about the help features in QBO, exploring Intuit's video tutorial in this chapter, and exploring the sample company in chapter 1. So we went through the sample company in chapter 1, we set up the company in chapter 2, and now in chapter 3, you'll demonstrate how to set up the company using the Wild Water Sports company that was created. And then from there, you will essentially be using Wild Water Sports going forward.